It started like any other Monday, emails, deadlines, coffee that tasted like burnt hopes. But ever since Erica became my manager, the air in the office changed. Not because she demanded authority, though she had it, but because she didn't have to. The way she carried herself made people lean in, made them want to be seen by her. I noticed it. We all did. But I told myself it was just admiration. Professional respect. Nothing more. She was the kind of woman who remembered details. Not just numbers on spreadsheets, but things like how I took my coffee, the name of my dog, that I once mentioned I played guitar in college. She'd smile when she brought it up, like she was quietly collecting fragments of me. I never thought much of it until I started looking forward to those smiles a little too much. My wife, Melissa, had been distant lately. Not cold, just distracted. Life had turned into a loop of grocery lists, bedtime routines, and checking emails from separate ends of the couch. We talked, sure, but it was all surface-level stuff. It felt like we'd pressed pause on being anything more than co-managers of the same life. I didn't resent her. I just missed feeling wanted. One Thursday, Erica asked me to stay late to help prep for a client meeting. It was just the two of us, working side by side under dim office lights. She loosened up, laughing more, opening up about how she'd worked her way up from nothing. I told her I admired her, and I meant it. She looked at me a second longer than necessary and said, "Most people don't actually see me." I didn't know what to say to that, but I wanted to. The first time I caught myself thinking about her after work hours, I brushed it off. Just a harmless thought. But then it became routine, replaying our conversations in my head, wondering what her texts meant when they had extra dots or no punctuation at all. I was overthinking, right? Probably. But something about the way she said my name stuck with me, like it belonged to her for a moment. Then came the Friday lunch. Casual team thing. But when she leaned in to pass me her phone to show a meme, her fingers grazed mine. It felt electric. Real. She didn't pull away fast. Neither did I. And suddenly I couldn't stop wondering if all of this was just in my head, or if she was wondering the same thing. I told myself I was loyal. A good man. I loved my wife. But something had shifted. It wasn't physical. Not yet. But emotionally, I wasn't where I used to be. Something in me had started to drift, and I didn't know how to stop it without breaking something. Or someone. It was almost 10 p.m. when we finally wrapped up the presentation deck. The office was quiet, most of the lights already off. Erica walked over with 2 small glasses of scotch. "For surviving the week," she said, clinking mine gently. I told her I didn't usually drink at work. She smirked. "Good. Makes it more special." We sat in silence for a moment, the kind that's not awkward, just heavy with things unspoken. She looked tired but beautiful, shirt unbuttoned just enough to feel casual, hair slightly undone. "You ever feel like no one really knows you?" she asked. I nodded before even thinking. She kept her eyes on mine. I hide most of who I am to stay ahead. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. When I left, she walked me to the elevator. No hugs. No touch. Just a long look that lingered too long. I drove home trying to shake it. Melissa was already asleep. I kissed her on the shoulder, slid into bed, and stared at the ceiling. My mind was still in that office. With Erica. At 12:41 a.m., my phone buzzed. It was her. One image. A mirror selfie. She wore a black camisole, simple, elegant, low-cut enough to make my chest tighten. Her lips parted slightly. Her eyes locked on the lens. It wasn't graphic, but it was intimate. Too intimate. Under the picture, the text read, "I don't usually share this side. Don't forget it exists." I stared at it for a full minute, heart pounding, mouth dry. I checked to make sure Melissa was still asleep. I reread the text. There was no ambiguity. This wasn't work. This wasn't friendly. This was a door being cracked open. I didn't reply. I didn't delete it either. Instead, I just lay there, phone on my chest, running every scenario in my mind. What was I supposed to do? Pretend it didn't happen? Ask her about it in the office like nothing had changed? Confront her and pretend I hadn't liked it? The worst part was I did like it, Not just the picture. The attention. The invitation. The idea that someone like her saw something in me that made her want to share that version of herself. It made me feel alive in a way I hadn't felt in years. But it also made me feel like a stranger to myself. I wasn't this guy. I never wanted to be. I judged guys like this. Guys who drifted. Who cracked.
Who betrayed.
Still, I opened the picture again. My thumb hovered over the reply box. I didn't type. I didn't sleep either. I just laid there wondering what had changed more, her or me. I didn't respond to the picture. But something between us shifted.
She knew I saw it.
I knew she sent it on purpose. We never brought it up, not even in passing, but everything after that felt different. Her glances lasted longer. Her jokes had a sharper edge. She stood closer. I started noticing the way she said my name, soft, drawn out, almost like a whisper only I was supposed to hear. I stopped telling Melissa about my day. What was there to share? Work was fine. Erica looked at me like she wanted to tell me a secret. That kind of honesty doesn't fit into a marriage. Instead, I just started avoiding the conversation altogether. Melissa didn't push. She probably thought I was just tired, stressed. In a way, I was. Erica sent more texts. Not flirty in the obvious sense, but thoughtful, curious, personal. One night, she asked what I used to dream about before life got so stable. Another time, she sent a song that reminded her of my energy. I listened to it in my car 3 times in a row. I wanted to believe I was imagining everything, but deep down I knew I wasn't.
She started leaving little notes on my desk.
Quick comments like, "Nice work today," or "You're not like the others." They seemed innocent. Maybe they were, but they didn't feel that way. Every word felt loaded. I read them like they were secrets passed under a table. I found myself checking my phone late at night, hoping she'd text. When she didn't, I felt disappointed. When she did, I felt guilty. It was like being caught between 2 versions of myself, one trying to be a good husband, the other slowly unraveling. Melissa asked me once if I was okay. I told her I was just tired. She nodded and went back to scrolling through her tablet. That moment should have hit me harder, but all I could think about was how little I felt in that silence compared to the electricity I felt when I was around Erica. One evening, I stayed late again. We weren't alone, but it still felt charged. She handed me some files. Our fingers brushed again, and this time, neither of us moved away. She looked up at me, said nothing, just breathed slowly like she was waiting for something. I stepped back. Not because I didn't want to move forward, but because if I did, I knew I wouldn't stop. Later that night, she texted, "You make me feel seen. That's dangerous." I stared at that message like it was a confession. Maybe it was. Maybe mine, too. I never replied. I never deleted it. It's still there, just like the picture. Quiet reminders of a boundary that kept bending, but never quite breaking. Not yet. She texted me at 6:13 p.m. "If you ever want to talk off the record, you can come by tonight." No pressure. There was no flirtation in the words. That made it worse. It sounded sincere. Like something more dangerous than seduction. Like she knew I'd already made the decision before she hit send. I told Melissa I had to stay late. Again. She nodded without looking up. I stood there for a second, wondering if she'd question it. Ask me anything. She didn't. I grabbed my keys, heart pounding, knowing exactly where I was going and pretending I didn't. Standing outside Erica's door, everything inside me screamed in both directions. This wasn't a moment of weakness. It was the result of 100 smaller choices that led to this one. She opened the door. Casual, quiet, eyes searching mine. She looked softer, different. She didn't smile. She just stepped aside. I walked in. We didn't touch. We sat across from each other, barely speaking. Then she broke the silence. "You don't owe me anything," she said. "I just needed you to know that what I sent wasn't random. I see you, even when you pretend not to be seen." I didn't know what to say. I couldn't lie and say I didn't feel the same pull. I also couldn't say out loud what I knew, that I had already crossed a line. Just not the one you can see. She asked if I was happy. Not with work. Not with her. With my life. I didn't answer. Not because I didn't know, but because I did. And the truth scared me. I stood to leave. She followed. Close. Too close. I turned toward her, and in that second, we were inches apart. I felt the air shift. Her breath slowed. She didn't move. I didn't either. It would have taken nothing to close that gap. A nod. A breath. The smallest tilt forward. But I didn't. I can't, I said, barely audible. Her eyes didn't flinch. I know, she whispered. But you wanted to. I nodded. Still do, I admitted. She smiled, not triumphant, not disappointed. Just quietly sad. Then it's already happened, she said. I walked out, feeling hollow and full at the same time. I didn't go home right away. I drove around, trying to sort through the mess in my head. My wife didn't ask where I'd been. She never even looked up when I walked in. I stood there, staring at her, wondering how long it had been since we really saw each other. I didn't cheat. Not physically. But something was gone now. A wall had cracked, and even if I never crossed through, I'd always know what was on the other side. Erica was still my boss. We never spoke of that night again. But that picture? That one moment she chose to show me a version of herself no one else got? It never left me. Still hasn't.